It's Festag in May, and instead of presents, these poor Empire huntsmen are getting explosive coal from evil industrialized Santa because it's Slade, and evil industrialized Santa has had enough of his tricks. Yes, indeed, we've got quite the wild replay, so let's get to what's going on here as one huntsman shatters. We've got two more huntsmen there lined up in the firing range. Light Wizard as well, and some Spearmen with shields. A couple of Demigryph Knights here in the forest. Yeah. Marcus is in Vanguard all the way in the corner with some Zinthler's Reichsguard and 5 Free Company, including the Regiment of Renown, Sterling's Revenge. This Chaos Dwarf Army, in case you thought things were getting normal. We've got 2 Dreadquakes, Soul of Damnation, Hell Cannon, Drazoath the Ashen up in the sky, and a bunch of laborers, along with 2 Infernal Guard Fireglaves. I don't have words. Let's go. 3, actually. 3 Infernal Guard Fireglaves. Alright, so let's see. Huntsman. Gonna get the boom, boom, doom. Indeed. Does a massive amount of HP damage, and due to the sheer shock value, will it be enough to actually fully shatter that unit? Maybe not. They do actually just rout. The Regiment of Renown Huntsman also may be going to get exploded, but it looks like the artillery might turn to fire on the Demigryphs. Slade does get a nice big wide surround pretty quickly. It is sort of a soft surround here, but yeah, you've got immediately the Free Company being revealed, getting in position to start blasting the laborers. Zinthler's Reichsguard moving to eliminate Hell Cannon crew. Tactical strike takes out that artillery. And out in the distance there, Demigryph Knights get landed on by Drazoath the Ashen as they take some shots, I think from the Dreadquake there. Pretty nasty stuff, manages to hit the cavalry on the move. Ooh, will that as well? Just barely tags them on the tail end, although it does slow them significantly. So maybe a follow-up shot will have better success. That being said, Free Company move out into space. They're going to easily disrupt the formation of defensive laborers and start to use their pistols to take out the train, as will Marcus with his bow. And the DPS is quite good, actually. These Free Company here, it should be noted, are all ranked 9, so their fire rate is exceptional at 7.4 seconds, with good AP per shot, 2 AP per shot on 120 unit models per unit, and they come in here and just absolutely devastate the one Dreadquake mortar. So immediately the other Dreadquake senses danger on the opposite side of the field, is going to turn to start to fire there. You can see the Fireglaves set up in a little square formation here. Very Empire Total War-esque. And they're going to try and just defend on all fronts. Not really having any support units left. The Zinthler's Reichsguard do come through under heavy fire. Manage to at least contact the Dreadquake. Let's see if they manage to stick around long enough to allow the Free Company to get in range, use their pistols to win. Drazoath here, once the Demigryph Knights start to grind him down. These are the Lance and Shield Demigryph Knights, so they do have better sustained combat stats, and actually in a surround can grind him down a bit. Let's see if they'll continue to do so. Marcus also sitting quite unopposed at this point, is pretty happy here. And yeah, the Light Wizard and the and Marcus is a double net technically, but they haven't really had much use for said nets because it's been pretty static so far, sort of a static gun battle, if you will. But yeah, quantity versus quality, the highest quality shooting unit, or one of them at least in the game, versus just loads of veteran dudes with pistols. And it does appear the pistols are superior. Who would have thought? Yes. Those of you guys who remember my Pistolier era will know well that I am a big fan of pistols as a weapon in Total War Warhammer, although Pistoliers, I think, are a little behind the curve right now. Free Company are carrying the torch in one hand and a pistol in the other. Beautiful stuff. I love the Light Wizard mixing it up in here too with the Fireglaves. We see Drazoath continuing to grind. Yeah, the armor of the Fireglaves will be pretty tough, but I think the Free Company perhaps are up to the task. They are losing the shootout a little bit right now over time, but with Drazoath gone, we do have the Demigryph Knights now. Oof, they have been quite beat up. Let's see, will they have enough power to actually come in and make a difference on some charges? Little Amber Bow there, spreads some scatter, doesn't do too much damage, but it's something. Laborers moving in to try and bog down the Free Company. They do actually manage to get into contact there. Little damage spike on the charge before they rout. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, balance power is pretty heavily in Empire's favor due to the loss of leadership. But let's see if the Fireglaves are able to weather the storm here. Bayonets affixed. I mean, they're permanently affixed anyway. Let's not think about it too hard. Anyway, yeah, fighting back with their small anti-large bonus. Does not look like their leadership was able to hold, and the red and green Demigryph Knights and other Empire units here able to take the win. Yeah, wild game for sure. Just all over the place. So many wonderful things, quite unusual, and that's why I brought it to you, you know. Can't always have your everyday, boring, meta ultra replays. Sometimes, I know this is crazy for some of you, sometimes we play the game for fun, you know? So, Slate certainly exemplifies that in many of his replays, and it's a good time for sure. I love the rank 9 Free Company. One of them managed to get 2,000 damage value. Very impressive stuff. 1,100 on the Regiment of Renown. Yeah, I mean, them plus the one Demigryph Knight also getting like 2,000 value, murdering Drazoath. It's pretty good stuff. There's Reichsguard, tactical attack on the Dreadquake, or sorry, the Soul of Damnation. The two Dreadquakes, yeah, one of them might pay for itself, but actually does manage to get some pretty good value. I do think had the Chaos Dwarf player turned to fire at the Free Company a little bit sooner, I think he actually has a better chance of maybe saving one, if not both, of the Dreadquakes. Then it becomes a lot tougher for Slade, but that's partially why you do the Vanguard, right? And why he has these initial sacrificial huntsmen to eat some of the shots initially while those Free Company advance. But obviously, hindsight 2020, you can't know that your opponent's going to take two Dreadquakes and a Hell Cannon. Yeah, interesting stuff for sure. What can I talk about here on the endgame? Let's talk a little bit more about Free Company here. And just in general, why Empire units, this is something I've talked about a few times in the past, but why Empire units tend to chevron very efficiently. And someone actually, I think it was Anticity in a chat I was in recently, did point out something that has been true for a long time, but continues to be true in Total War Warhammer 3, which is that High Elf Spearmen are in many ways simply, I mean, you have rank, what, the rank 7 Empire Spearmen cost 1 gold more, right? So essentially the same. And they basically have the High Elf Spearman stats, right? You consider the Martial Prowess, which does give benefit of 12 melee attack, or sorry, 12 melee defense and 2 melee attack, right? Which is actually the difference in melee defense exactly, but the Empire Spearmen then have additional melee attack over it. They are slightly slower, technically, these Empire Spearmen are, and they do have slightly less leadership and armor. You have a worse missile block chance, but 700 more HP. Yeah, they're very efficient in chevroning. Of course, Empire Swordsmen, there's something similar, right? You know, you can sort of move them up into the mid-tier pretty easily, and their attack and defense stats, yeah, you get a good benefit from them. +9, +9. So each of those chevrons you're buying is getting you 1 melee attack and 1 melee defense, and you're even getting 1 extra bonus leadership for your troubles, which is great. The reason being is you look down here on this abilities range, right? The emptier this box is, the more efficiently, generally, the unit will chevron. So you think about High Elves, right? I mean, obviously they have your regular Spearman traits, charge defense against large, charge reflection. They don't really pay extra for that. It's just part of their weapons kit. But they do pay extra for, in the calculus of how Creative Assembly created this initially, is this right here, Martial Prowess, right? It does give you a benefit, of course, but this is true of any unit, right? And this is something that we can see pretty clearly demonstrated if you look at, say, Warriors of Chaos and Norska, who have literally the same unit with one difference. And that difference does generate some extra costs. So you've got 375 for the basic Marauder for Warriors of Chaos, and for extra 25 points, literally the exact same unit, all you get is Rage. Now, check this out. So if we chevron these guys up, right, difference of cost at 32, whereas initially it's just 25. So the difference in cost does magnify, right? Which means you are paying extra when you're buying chevrons. You're paying extra for this ability, even though it doesn't benefit these attack and defense stats at all, right? Because they chevron same for both these units. It's not like the one that's more expensive gets more benefit from the chevrons. They're actually, you know, exactly the same still, right? Just adding the rage. So coming back to the Empire, the reason why their units tend to chevron efficiently is because they just are what they are. They don't really have a lot of special abilities or traits. They don't have army abilities, nothing like that, right? So, coming back all the way to Free Company Militia, I mean, this is like encroaching on like Lothar Seaguard territory, and I know it's not exactly an like very comparable unit. Or maybe even better would be to compare it to Kislev, actually, because they actually have pistols as well. So something like Armored Cossars, right? We're getting into like that similar cost range. Maybe not quite, but in terms of like a hybrid unit, obviously you're lacking in the armor. Free Company Militia, even with all those chevrons, do have, you know, less melee attack, or melee defense, at least weapon strength. They do have more melee attack. Obviously less armor, less health. You have more ammunition, and they're a little bit more ranged focus. It should be noted, Armored Cossars do have just better AP values overall. But of course, these guys also have Vanguard and can fire while moving, which is not true of the Armored Cossars. So, yeah, I mean, I guess all this to say, like, Empire is probably one of those factions. Warriors of Chaos, historically, I don't know, these days you don't see it nearly as much because some of their units actually aren't very efficient in terms of their base stats, right? Like, talking about, like, actual Chaos Warriors. Empire units, their low-tier units at least, Spearmen, Swordsmen, Free Company Militia, are very efficient in terms of their stats to cost ratio, so they are great candidates for chevroning. Anyway, I just talked like 8 minutes there about chevroning, something like that. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.